start the proceedings.
Vincent, good afternoon. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
You well?
Yeah, good.
Not good news to start the weekend with a touchline ban and a fine that we heard about a couple of hours ago. What's your reaction to that double punishment?
Fair enough. I said it before. I totally acknowledge that what I said in the moment did absolutely not reflect what I thought about the official in terms of questioning the integrity of someone. I think that's too harsh and is not what I meant. So fair enough. And the two are separate issues. I can have a complaint about the level of refereeing. I think that's a fair complaint. But in the moment, the emotions got the best of me. So it's fair. It's unfortunate as well because I want to be there for the team. And yeah, in that sense, you know, it's probably it's something that on the day will annoy me probably.
How hard is it to keep the lid on the emotions?
No, I mean, look, it's a game of emotions. You have the passion on the touchline. You build up to the game to have so much belief when you start the game. But you know as well, especially in this league, that you can't give an inch to anyone. And the season's been a long season, so you do carry as well events of the season into your appreciation of the game. So yeah, it's a game of emotions, but at the same time, I think the most important part is to just be able to recognize if you've made a mistake and then move on. I think we're all trying to do what's best for the game as well.
And how difficult does it now make your job on Saturday?
Yeah, it's unpleasant, but I have full trust in the staff that I have with me. I have full trust in the players and their ability to rise up to the challenge. You know, ultimately on match day, the most important people are the players, and that's what needs to reflect on the day.
On a happier note, 38th birthday this week.
Yeah.
Many happy returns.
Thank you.
Did you have a good day? Did you get many presents?
It was a fairly normal day, yes. Presents. You still get presents at 38?
Yeah. Don't tell me you didn't get any presents.
I didn't know you're supposed to get presents at that age.
Well, it's just a good
it's
year.
It's not Christmas, is it?
The way
so you still get presents at your age?
Of course I do, yeah. A little list. Don't you put a little list together?
Yeah, well, it's something I'm going to bring back at home and just... I'm going to at least ask the question because, I don't know, it's not been that type of presents. It's been shared time with the family.
Important that you have that, though, isn't it? Especially with the challenging season that you're having.
Yeah, but I think having been in football for so long, I think it's something you develop over time. I hope anyway that anybody, any manager especially, is able to do that for himself because you have to have that balance. In my case, I can really work the hours that I do only because I have also a safe place, if that makes sense. So it always gives that extra little bit of energy that you need to stay as well on track during the season. How
difficult, how draining have you found this season? Because it looks like it's been hard work. No,
it was tougher last year in the Championship. Just more games. I mean, how many midweek games did we have this season? 6. I think we had 16 or something last season, and they were all condensed because of that World Cup they put in the middle. So it was maybe an exceptional year in terms of the calendar. Maybe that was bound to happen anyway. But the draining, I think it's if you feel that you're going in a direction and maybe people that you're working with don't want to go with you, I can see how that can be draining. But that's not been the case one single day of my season here. So no, it's been there's been frustration at times because too often have we come. You know, I look back at the last 6 games and I'm like, the 6 games where we could have had in each game a serious claim to have the 3 points, let alone a draw, like 3 points, and you don't reward yourself, and that's frustrating. But in the end, the job in itself, I'm in an unbelievable environment, and you know, it's credit to the club.
Is there a feeling that when you look back at those 6 games, that's ultimately going to cost you come mid-May?
I think the whole season, when you're down to where we are, the whole season kind of has an impact. Anything that's happening in the season, and it's been fine margins so many times. And I don't think we're the only club. When I look at the other teams around us, whether it's Sheffield or whether it's Luton and others, the amount of times that they're in games and the game is so close, and then the difference is, a couple of times it's landed inside the back, inside the post, and sometimes it's a little bit more outside the post. But it's been this type of season where at the beginning I think we found it, and I'm talking very early doors in the season, we found it difficult to adapt quickly. But since for a while now we've been in every game, it's just the frustration you ask about what's been this season is after a game to feel like we could have done more. And what I wanted to add to this to finish is that at times, and that was my frustration probably with my overreaction at times with the officials as well, is there's been at times where it's been our own fault, our own mistakes, and sometimes it's not been our fault. And that's unfortunate.
I guess a lot of people looking at a situation now, 6 games to go, 6 points from safety, will think it needs something close to a miracle to get out of that. From your time in the game, has it got to that stage now, or do you realistically still think 6 games to go, still a lot to play for?
I wouldn't call it a miracle, but it needs wins. It needs points. I mean, we're not necessarily able to look forward to any game and say this game we pick and choose, this game is the one. Every game is tough for us, but every game offers the opportunity. We don't also look at any game as a game where we can't win because of the type of games we've played. So what we need is that difference between earlier in what we've had this season and the next 6 games is, well, if you have a good performance, you have to have 3 points. That's
and a lot of people are looking ahead to potential ends of season after the latest points deduction for Everton, and I know you've talked about that in the past, but in Everton's latest case now, the appeal process may go beyond the end of the season. So whatever final position you're in might still be subject to appeal by somebody else. What do you make of that situation?
No, I'm probably not. It's just the way I'm wired. I do very little to try and spend energy or time, consumed on things I can't control, and I really can't control that. Nor should I have a say in it, really. It happens between whoever are the relevant authorities for us and the clubs that you mentioned, and I have absolutely nothing to comment on this other than I want to see what we can do on the pitch in the next 6 games.
But surely you'd want your destiny sorting out one way or the other by May the 19th, wouldn't you? But
I think of it this way, like the discipline you have to impose on it. Like I've known nothing different. So when I signed for Burnley, there was still, I think it was like on the last day it could be both scenarios, right? I've never been in a mindset where you don't have to plan for 2 leagues, which is crazy to think about. But when I joined, I had to still plan for Premier League survival or Championship. When we were in the Championship, we still had to plan for Championship or promotion. And now when we went to the Premier League, we had to do it in reverse, Premier League or Championship. So it's not as difficult an exercise as you would think because we live in that reality.
But you've talked about emotion. I mean, the emotion of getting relegated and then having that decision changed a few days later, that almost sounds inconceivable.
So I can tell you now that if it comes to that point, and we're out of the building here on the Monday following the last game of the season, I can tell you that I won't switch my TV on and someone will just have to call me when the decision has been made. And I'll be probably on the beach somewhere, waiting until someone makes a decision, but not caring in the meantime one bit. It'll be a little bit of holiday. And then at some point, I presume I'll have clarity. But in the meantime, because we plan for both scenarios, it's actually not that difficult for us.
And just a word on Brighton. I mean, they still got plenty to play for. How difficult an opposition are they for you?
They're a unique opposition in the sense that without necessarily being classed as one of the big 6 teams in this league, they've managed to establish themselves with all the habits of the top teams in terms of, they force opposition teams to adapt. And for a team like Brighton to be able to demand that from even the bigger teams, that's pretty exceptional. So that means that, It doesn't matter whether the top 6 teams play against them or whether, like they have to adapt their game to be able to play against Brighton. And it's a pretty special situation to be in. Like, I'll give an example for us. When we were the best team in the Championship last year, everybody would have to adapt to play us. So in the Premier League, none of the teams have wanted to do that because they won't accept it, because they expect to have the better players. And it took them a while to do that. I'm not saying it happened overnight, but within the space of 5 or 6 years, they've managed to demand this, and that's pretty impressive.
Thanks for your time. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Let's go to Gary now about your Lancashire.
Vincent, you've got a little 6-game season to go now. Are you in must-win territory as a team now?
Yeah, I think we've been in must-win territory for much longer than that. But and I think as well it transpired. I think the energy we've had in games, the drama in the games, because it comes associated with some drama as well, because you're just constantly on a knife edge. So we've been living that, just not been having the rewards for it. And but I expect no different in the next 6 games.
Are you the sort of manager that sets targets for your teams in terms of, we've got this group of games, we need this many points from it?
Oh, it's a very simple target: win the next game, all the time. It's the cliche saying that's actually the most real. I mean, it's as valuable now when you're fighting for survival as last year when you're fighting to be the best team. It's a really good habit to have. It's difficult to maintain in terms of mentality, but it's how I'm wired anyway. So that's something that comes fairly natural for me.
You've alluded there to Brighton. They've established themselves as a top 8, top 10, top half Premier League team now. In terms of the style of play, what sort of challenge are they going to bring you on Saturday?
I think the challenge has been dissected by so many football pundits and experts over the years. It's they're a team who have absolute. I think it's been said by others before anyway, but they're able to find. Usually you can decide to line up a zonal press, and then if you line up a zonal press, they will find the positions in between the lines, and they will then create overloads or find the free man between the lines. If you line up with man-oriented press, they have movement patterns to create space to go in behind, but also really good control of the tempo of the ball and the angles they need to make to even under man-oriented press be able to retain possession. They have a goalkeeper who's essentially an outfield player, and so and then when they lose the ball, they recover the ball really quickly, and when they have to defend, I think they're able to try and do so that they recover the ball as quickly as possible. So, but to be able to do it when it's, like I said, it's not happened overnight. It's taken them years to do that, but they are where they are now because they've had this idea probably for a long time already.
There's been a lot of talk about Brighton, about them being a really well-run club. They've announced healthy profits this week, and there's a lot of talk around them as held up as an example of how to run a football club. And their recruitment has been widely applauded as well, managers and players that they brought through. Mm-hmm. How important is it, especially for a club like Burnley, how important is that recruitment to get that right, to ensure or help ensure some success?
Yeah, recruitment is it's a component, right? So I think because I was lucky, I played against Brighton when they were still playing at the University Stadium at the time, and there was talks of them building a stadium already then, but I think that they already started the building of the Amex Arena. But it was you couldn't have said in that moment in time that they were going to become this Brighton. But I wouldn't be surprised if it happened there already, because someone at that time decided to invest already in building the arena, invest in the strategy that you described. So at the very end, or at the very center, is always, I think, recruitment and the quality of your players. But I think at the very beginning there is commitment, investment over years before any returns. and then eventually when you have good players, the age bracket of the players that they select them at always gives them also big resale value, which allows them to grow the natural size of the club. So many things I could go into detail, but the point is there's a coherence that allows them to be where they're at today. Now, you talk about Burnley. We definitely have coherence in what we want to do, but you know we're at a completely different level and phase of that journey for us.
Yeah, because obviously the stated aim of your chairman and yourself, you clearly want to try to bring younger players in and develop them in a similar manner to what Brighton have done. Like you say, they're further down that track. But with younger players, bringing them in and developing them, is there an issue there then where you get a little bit more inconsistency from younger players? Yeah, but it's the strategy is not play younger players. That's not the strategy. The strategy is a decision that is made by the club, by the way, about whether with the finances available that we have, which is still not, our finances don't allow us to be out of the top three, right? So if you made a league of what the clubs could spend, you'd probably give massive credit to how Luton have approached this season, but otherwise, you know, Luton, Sheffield, Burnley, that's about that's about who you would find in the bottom three of the financial league, right? So then you have to find a way to get out of it. So you can either go the experience route, but the way the league has gone nowadays, you know, is you have to have athleticism and the wages you have to pay and stuff. And if these guys don't succeed, you have no resale value because they're already on high wages. If you get relegated, I'm sorry, I'm going into detail, I might as well answer the question fully. So if you get relegated, these guys, they won't accept, for example, like a reduction in pay if you go to the championship. They won't. They'll say like, well, no, I'm a Premier League player. If we go down, like you sort it out, you know. And all these kind of exposures, that's a strategy you can take, but it could also tank you. But it's definitely not going to grow you anyway. The other one is when you have a balance between, because about the balance, experienced player and some young players, the profits that you mentioned from Brighton, they're not generated by, you know, having, you know, 500 weddings at the Amex Arena. It's because they sell players for a very high value. And that fine balance between performance and being in that development phase, it's a difficult puzzle to solve, but we didn't really have any intermediary options, you know. But you look at the progress of our team at this moment in time, how it's performing, it's really for us still an urgent goal to try and get this team to roll into a next season in the Premier League, because we can see how well they've performed. Yeah, going on from that, it must be, or how good is it for you to be able to call on slightly more experienced players like Charlie Taylor, like Josh Cullen, like Aaron Muric to come into the side, because they must surely add to that younger group with their extra experience. Yeah, but the key thing is these guys, they've still got the athleticism, so Charlie is still a very good athlete. And what I'm trying to say is the way the league is developed now, even to my time, you could have all the experience you want. You go and stand on that pitch with all your experience, but you can't run. Good luck. You know, it's just impossible. You know, it's like the entry fee you have to pay for this league nowadays. It's like just the entry fee is that. And everything else won't matter if you're not able to do that. And so that's why I'm saying that level of experience mixed with the reality of the Premier League, you can either grow it in your club or you can go and buy it, but it's really expensive. It's really difficult to do that. Just going back to the last couple of games and looking forward to this one then, Lyle Foster has played a slightly different role in recent weeks. Can you just give us an idea of what your thought process is in that? Because a wider role, you've got other players that appear to be a bit more of a natural fit. What's your thought process? I really didn't even think about the fact that he was doing our players have always been flexible, always. It's a perception from the outside, but if you look at his position in possession, he played exactly the same position as he's always played. But it's a perception thing. You know, it's 100%
part of something we've always done with our players. They've always had to be flexible to be able to be in different roles. He's done it already 15, 20 times since he's been with us. Every player has done it, but I don't control the perception. That's it's an error to watch, to see it that way, but I don't control that.
Just finally from me, you did talk a little bit about the number of plans that you've got to have when you come into a league like the Premier League. You've got to plan for the worst case scenario, plan for the best case scenario. Has the worst case scenario, Burnley ending back up in the Championship again, has that plan had to be a bit more detailed and a bit more in focus in this last few weeks?
Not by me anyway. You know, like my role is the next 6 games. Your plan. You like I've always said the same thing. You make it at the beginning of the season. You review it, maybe in the international break or maybe in January. But in the meantime, because you've planned it, the next best plan is to focus on the next game.
Thank you, Matt. Burnley Express.
Hi, Vinny. You beat without Dario Shea this weekend. How big a miss will he be? And did the club ever sort of consider appealing that red card against Everton?
I can't say that we would have done. I can't say that we thought we would have had a big chance to do anything with that. I think the main thing is for us is going to miss one game. Someone else has to step up, and obviously he was on a positive trend, so that's unfortunate for us.
Generally, how's the squad looking? Any players likely to come back this weekend?
I don't think there's anybody else that's going to miss. We should have a pretty good squad other than Darren missing.
You've been without James Trafford for the last 2 games. How's he doing? What's his situation?
No, he was just ill, so he's come back now, and by the looks of it, he looks in good spirits.
I've seen that JJ Watt's been talking this week, saying that he's quite happy to take the flak on referees. He's quite happy to be the voice for the club on referees. So you and Alan Pace don't get in trouble. Are you happy with that arrangement?
Honestly, you can't keep hitting me with quotes from America. Like I didn't even get to me. Crabbers.
That's one in England actually. It's been on the overlap today, so one in England as well.
Was that in England? No, look, I don't know. I can imagine there's a little bit of tongue in cheek in there, and my job is fairly simple. Is focus on the team that we've got. You know, if anybody else has anything else to do, it's always a good thing to have a teamwork, but I'm not a part of that discussion.
Yeah, last week or 2, you've been linked with a player from PSV called Shrandi Sambo. Anything you could tell the fans about that one?
No, not yet. I think there's a time and a place. The moment the season's over, then we can start talking about recruits for next season. I think that's fair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to the back one last one. Phil. EA Media.
Cheers. Vincent, hi. I just had one on the goalkeepers in terms of Muric after what happened, his mistake in the Everton game. How's he been since then, and sort of the attitude going into this game?
Fine, solid. You know, they've. It's not just for goalkeepers, for every position on the pitch. It's part of the game, and you know, I remember it happening to me. You've got to pick yourself up and then just focus on the next game.
That's great. Cheers.
Okay. Lovely.
Thank you, guys.